Today we are going to be talking about one of my favorite albums, really of all time. It kind of came and went without a whole lot of fanfare, and I can go a couple of years without listening to it. But when I do break it out, like I haven't heard that in a while, I listen to this thing over and over for 2 weeks at a time. Nothing else. It's just an infectious album. So let's talk about it. We're going to be talking about Fear of God's debut album, Within the Veil, the one and only album they ever did for a major label. So let's get to it. A few metal albums feel as haunted, truly haunted, as Fear of God's Within the Veil. Came out in 1991. It is a record that doesn't just sound dark, it bleeds darkness. It is the sound of a band built around one of the most tragic and compelling figures in heavy metal, Dawn Crosby, whose voice and lyrics turn personal trauma into a singular artistic statement. Over time, the album has become a cult classic, misunderstood at release, revered decades later. I actually bought it the year it came out and was transfixed by it. We're going to deep dive into the album's creation, its themes, production, artwork, musicianship, and why it has an enduring legacy. Before Fear of God, Dawn Crosby fronted the thrash metal band Détente. They were a pretty good little thrash band. After internal conflict and label issues, she left Roadrunner Records with guitarist Michael Carlino to form a new project, one that would be heavier, more atmospheric, and really, honestly, more personal. Crosby was determined to create a band that reflected her own emotional landscape. And Fear of God was built around her voice, her writing, really her artistic vision. The new band aimed for major label breakthrough with Warner Brothers at the helm. This new band wasn't simply a new band. It was really a reinvention. Within the Veil was recorded at Fortress Recorders in Hollywood and mixed at Quantum Sound Studios with mastering at Masterdisc. The production team included Pat Regan, as the drummer for David Letterman, and the band themselves. Fortress Records was known for its gritty analog warmth. The band leaned into a hybrid of thrash, doom, and really, if you listen to the album, you can hear early grunge textures. Crosby's vocals were intentionally left raw, uncomfortably so in some cases. The result is a sound that feels unpolished by design, mirroring the emotional volatility of the material. Fear of God's style on this album is really difficult to categorize. Critics have compared it to Alice in Chains, Saigon Kick, some gothic metal acts, though none of those comparisons really capture it. Look at it as an amalgamation of all of those things and then really none of those things. I know it doesn't help, but it really is kind of like that idea in The Matrix when Morpheus says,
"Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself."
And in this case, to know, you have to hear it. Really, it's a thrash-infused riffing of Michael Carlino, who's tremendous. It's got doom-laden tempos that create a suffocating kind of atmosphere without being doom itself. It's got this heavy gothic undertones in its melodies and lyrics, and like the aforementioned grunge, especially the vocal layering of the emotional rawness. The hybrid sound was ahead of its time, too heavy for mainstream rock, too emotional for thrash purists. It really, at the time, didn't sound like anything you had ever heard, truly. Crosby's performance is the album's defining feature. Her voice is not traditionally pretty, nor is it meant to be as cracked and as anguish, is confrontational, is broken, it's haunting. She has these spoken word whispers, and then she'll just go into these harsh, raspy belts. Beautiful melodic lines that feel like confessions. And then there are moments where it seems like she's literally breaking down in the studio. Critics have compared her emotional intensity to Lane Staley in his performance on Alice in Chains' Dirt, but Crosby's demons were even closer to the surface. Her lyrics read like diary entries in the middle of trauma or an emotional storm. This album starts out, such a brilliant album. It starts out with the song All That Remains. It's this mid-tempo opener that sets the tone, is introspective, is heavy, it's emotionally charged. Themes of loss and emotional decay dominate the track. Now the second song, Betrayed, as best they could do, Warner Brothers released it as the single and video single, which is where I ran across it on Headbangers Ball. It's one of the album's longest tracks, though the single isn't, and explores themes of abandonment and emotional violence. The riff shift between kind of doom and thrash. You don't really know where to go with it. The third track, Emily, is this personal song, often interpreted as lament for innocence lost. It's a haunting piece of music. And I know I keep going back to that word, but how else do you describe a house filled with ghosts? The next track, Red to Gray, is a slow-burning, atmospheric track with one of Crosby's most vulnerable vocal performances, which slides right easily into Diseased. And we go from this emotional turmoil of Red to Gray to this raw, vicious aggression with lyrics that are about confronting and fighting your inner demons. Wasted Time follows as kind of this sprawling, melancholic piece about regret and self-destruction. And it goes right into one of my favorite tracks, Love's Death, this kind of gothic tinge track about the collapse of intimacy. The next to the last track is a song called White Door. It's one of the album's really kind of mysterious songs. It's got if you look at the lyrics, it's got a lot of symbolism. It's really dreamlike, but not as much a nightmare as kind of a dark fantasy. And the final song, Drift, is honestly one of the most played songs on streaming platforms, amazingly enough. It's this hypnotic, doom-laden finale that feels like you're sinking into overwhelming quicksand or a deep, dark ocean. Now the album cover, and you'll see it up on screen here, or here. It was conceptualized by Dawn Crosby herself. It features stark symbolic imagery, while not as iconic as the aforementioned Iron Maiden's Egyptian motifs, that we had in the previous video. It reflects themes of death and rebirth, mysticism, Crosby's fascination with personal mythology. The art direction by Kim Champagne gives the album this visual identity that matches the emotional weight. It truly does reflect what you're going to hear in the album. At release, Within the Veil didn't fit into any category. I mean, the only time I ever saw it was on Headbangers Ball. They didn't even put it into any sort of rotation. Grunge was on the cusp. It was right there. We had taste of it, and it was about to explode. Thrash was evolving into technical thrash and melodic thrash and even doom-inspired thrash. And gothic metal hadn't yet reached mainstream, and this was all of them and none of them. The critics were unsure how to classify it because they loved their little boxes. The album didn't receive major promotional support outside of the video. And fans of Détente, well, they were not real big fans of this. At least a lot of them talked about how they lost their edge and went into this kind of slower, dark direction that they didn't really care for. Today, I mean, if you look on boards and see other videos about it, the album's considered a cult classic, a precursor to gothic doom heavy metal. It's this, and honestly, it's this raw document of emotional collapse. Metal Archive reviewers praise it as desperation meets insanity. Phenomenal debut, singularly one of the most overlooked albums of not only the 90s but heavy metal. Dawn Crosby's struggles with addiction and trauma ultimately led to her death a few years later in 1996, but her work on Within the Veil remains a testament to her artistic vision, courage. Inspiring her, she inspired a lot of female fronted acts, you know. I mean, even though they may not take things to that dark place, they loved that Dawn didn't sacrifice her femininity in a very male occupied space. That she was there and she was vulnerable, and she didn't hide her femininity, but she also didn't exploit it like some tend to do. She was just this force to be reckoned with. She is one of the first people who kind of let go of perfection in singing when it came to being emotionally raw. And she created, if not one of, definitely in my opinion, the darkest album of the 90s. It stands as a monument and a testament to her vision. Within the Veil is not it's not an easy listen when you first put it on. And that's, to me, why it endures. It is a rare heavy metal album that feels like a direct transmission from this wounded soul, from this dark place, like somebody who wanted to get out what was in them, and we actually feel it. It's this hybrid sound, this emotional intensity, with a tragic backstory that gives it a unique place in the history of not just heavy metal, but music in general. It's not just an album, it is a confession. It is a breakdown that you can feel. It is a legacy carved in pain and honesty. I truly love this album. And like I said at the beginning, it is something that I'll go a couple of years without listening. And then I'll pop the CD into my car back when I did that, or, you know, and I was just, that's all I'm listening to. She's truly missed. I would have loved to have seen where she would have gone. Anyway, not to bring it down to a downer, but I just wanted to talk about this immensely incredible album that kind of went under the radar and didn't get a lot of attention, and is kind of a, if you know, you know sort of album. I wanted to bring it to your attention. So thanks for joining me in this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Later.